My second question was, could you give me the distinction between using an event from my history as a lamppost, as a place to go, and not then comparing every event leading towards that to that piece of history? There was a point in my life where there was a great amount of joy many years ago. So now as I try to reach for that joy again, I am concerned that I start to compare the joy I feel today with the joy that I felt years ago, and I don't want to get trapped in that.
You might do that, but if you're aware of what you're doing, you're less likely to do that. In other words, the other day, Esther was in a good feeling place, and she recalled a feeling from her childhood. It felt like well-being. It was a feeling of security. Now, Esther remembers sitting in the kitchen of her home and hearing her parents talking about the probable nuclear war. And they were talking about hiding under desks in school. And Esther remembers that horrible, horrible feeling of insecurity. In fact, she notes that as probably the beginning of the losing of her innocence. That's when her feeling of well-being really began to seriously erode. And so what you're saying is, as Esther reflects back on the security that she felt in childhood and finds it, then reflecting back on the security that she found might tempt her to remember then the point of insecurity that came. And so it's sort of like, well, my childhood was secure up to a point, and then it stopped being secure. And then where have you left your vibration? Where has that trip down memory lane taken you? And what we want to say to you is, it does not matter where the trip down memory lane has taken you, because you're taking it in the now, and now you have awareness of how you feel. So as Esther in her now remembers that security, that delicious feeling of well-being, that feeling of well-being from childhood, she's moving in the right direction. And then as she remembers when her aunt was killed in an automobile accident, she moves in the other direction. And now she should be smart enough to say, this thought tasted good and this thought tasted bad, and I'm not compelled to go that way, because this isn't an historical documentary where I'm required to objectively give all sides of the story. This is a deliberate intent of moving myself up the emotional scale. And so in time, depending upon what one's childhood is, or what one's past is, you might find it easier to fantasize the future and stay positive than to selectively sift through a troublesome past. It sort of just depends on this person, on the situation, and how you feel. There's no right or wrong in it. The only thing that we want you to leave this gathering knowing is that you've got choices about what you focus upon, and each choice will net you a different emotional response. And when you start choosing because of the emotional potential, so I think a thought and I have a feeling response, so I think and feel. But what if I care so much about how I feel that my feeling intention drives my choosing? Now we think you're onto something. Now you're using guidance, pre-manifestational guidance.
So use the thought from my history as a signpost of where I want to go, and then stop it there and continue to be in the moment I'm in.
Well,
move towards the joy.
Here, we are not saying only think about this moment. We're saying in this moment, whether you're thinking about the past or the present or the future, it's all happening now. And it's all activating vibration now, which is causing point of attraction now and inducing emotional response now.
Okay.
So we're not guiding you away from past, and we're not encouraging you to focus only in the now. Now is sort of boring, relatively speaking. The past is so much richer, and the future is so much richer than any moment in time, really. You know, and so we want you to be flexible and reach all around. We just want you to care so much how you feel that you get picky about where you go. And so Esther and Jerry has told stories about his childhood that make his childhood sound awful. And yet he has told stories about his childhood that make him feel empowered. And Esther notices that as time goes by, he chooses more and more and more of the empowering stories. Just sort of like you choose more and more. You don't watch television so willy-nilly anymore. You're more selective about what you watch. You do everything more deliberately when you begin to really care how you feel. Good time for a segment of lunch. We are complete.